Okay, so here's the tutorial on how to do a complete hybrid fix. Now, we're going to start with the original casing. The Xbox is already removed. Took all the fans out and everything. Got to prepare this for the hybrid fix. So you've got your 4 holes where your X-clamp bolts used to be. You're going to have to drill these out so they can fit the bigger M5 nuts that you use in the hybrid fix. So I use a unibit on my drill, and not sure the size. I think it's 3/16. I'm not really sure, but it's the perfect size for the bolts. Okay, so now that those are drilled out, just clean off the casing. On the other side, you're gonna have these little lips that'll form from drilling through the casing there. So you're gonna need to use your Dremel to sand those down, along with these standoffs, which I'll explain in a minute. All right. So you've got your Dremel. Let's go ahead. I'm using a plastic bit on here since I didn't have a metal bit, so it sparks a lot. I used to have metal bits that wouldn't actually spark as much. I don't know what the difference between them is, but that'll be why it's going to be shooting so many sparks. Okay, so now that you've drilled your holes and you sanded them down, that's what it's going to look like. I don't know if you can see that. They're just shaved down there. So now what we have to do is we have to shave down the standoffs here. These are actually 1 millimeter higher than the rest of this edging here. So that causes the board to flex. So you need to sand those down. And the height of these is actually going to be the height of 3 of your spacers. You just get to test the height of the standoff after you sanded it down. Stick 3 of them right next to them, just like that. And then, you probably can't see that, but hey, you just measure it based on that. So let me just show this down. Okay, so now that you've sanded them down, it should be the right height. Just take 3 of your spacers, sit right next to them. Okay. And now what you have to do is you have to get your bolts in. Now you've got your holes drilled bigger enough so you can fit a bolt about this size right here. Now most of the bolts actually have a bigger head than this, so you're going to want a spacer just about this size, so you can put that right on there, and then slide it on. Of course, these bolts have smaller, like smaller head here. I bought these thinking I would need them, but mine actually sit right next to this little raised X-clamp, so it lays completely flat on there. So you just put one of those in every one of the holes. And then what you're going to need to do after this is you want to, because you're going to flip the case over, you don't want those to slide out, so you have to get electrical tape and tape them down. And once just going to get a nice long piece of electrical tape and cut it off, but I don't have scissors with me right now. So you just lay it across those bolts. I'll show you in a second. Let me just get this other one. adjust just like so. So that's what it's gonna look like when you're done with it. And then the inside of the casing are obviously sticking through just like that. Okay. Okay. Now I have prepared the homemade X-clamp fix. Well, homemade part of the X-clamp. If you order from them, then you get you'll get a uniclamp, which is I highly recommend because these things are a pain in the neck to create. And that'll come with the foam that you need, which is the perfect size. This is obviously a stock X-clamp. It's bent out, and it's got this black thing right here. With these, when you modify them, you bend them flat, and then you sand off the edges. Well, what I did is I cut off this little lip here, and then I sanded down whatever was left, and then you just take out the middle black piece. So these, you just lay right into the, right over the bolts. Like if you accidentally cut off the edge there, it doesn't matter because it's going to go on there anyway. It's going to look like that. And then what you're going to need to do is you're going to take your spacers, your 1mm spacers, M5, and you just lay them right over the bolts. 3 to each bolt. Okay, so now that you have 3 spacers on each bolt, you're going to take your foam pads. These are actually just napkins that I wrap together with electrical tape. You fold them to like just the size so that they would fit in there, and they're just about the perfect size. So you lay them in there, and you're going to want to tape them down. You can also glue them down, but taping them down will hold it down better. Okay, so once you have everything taped down in there, it's going to look like that. And these pads are here though, so that they put even pressure on the chips above them. And then what you're going to do is you're going to put foam shims on the top of the chips, and that balances out the pressure along the top of the chip from the heatsink as well. So that's why those are there. Okay, what I have here is I believe Xenon. It might be Zephyr, but it's definitely not Falcon or Jasper. It's an older one, and I just actually cooked it in the oven for about 5 hours at 80 degrees Celsius to bake out any flexing that was in it prior to it coming to me. So you sit this in here. You have to kind of work to align the bolts with the chassis. It's not too hard. Sometimes you have to reach under and move them around. Obviously they're still covered in electrical tape, so it's kind of tough, but it's worth the time. So now you have it sitting in there. You have your chip dies obviously right here. These are already clean. Do a mirror finish here. You can do that with Goo Gone or Arctic Clean, which you have to get offline. I think you could probably get it at Radio Shack. I'm not really sure where you could get it for you guys in the UK, but I'm sure Radio Shack has it here. It's where you can get Arctic Silver 5, which I'm going to apply right now. Alright, so I've got a 12 gram. I don't think it's 12 gram actually. 3.5 gram tube. Yeah, the 12 gram tube is a big one, but this is Arctic Silver 5. This is actually I have this left over. I recently found out that Arctic Silver MX-2 is a better thermal compound and it's cheaper than this. So if you're looking for thermal compound, I would get that. So basically what you do is just squeeze out some across.